Hi, my name is Isabella Johnson, and this is my presentation on punk rock, its influence on fashion in the 70s. So, my first influence that I wanted to talk about in this presentation is the Sex Pistols. So, featured here are 3 images, one including Sid Vicious, and then 2 including Johnny Rotten. The Sex Pistols was one of the pioneers of the punk movement, and their style and their aesthetic is very well known in punk fashion. And they were styled eventually by Vivienne Westwood, and she helped steer a lot of what punk fashion really is. So in the first image, you can see Sid Vicious wearing a distressed white tee and then some black jeans, and he looks kind of like badass. He's looking off to the side, giving that kind of punk vibe. And then over to the right, there's 2 images of Johnny Rotten. So the first image has him in a very punk-esque outfit. He's wearing a jacket from Vivienne Westwood that has so many details. It has studs, it has pins, it has chains, it has different pieces of cloth put on there with different words. The t-shirt, the tank top he's wearing itself, it's very grunge-esque, and it has a lot of different graphics on it. And then he's wearing a lot of chains against his jeans. He's wearing a belt, and then I think he has a lighter on his jeans as well. That's something that is really prominent in punk fashion too, is like people would literally wear lighters on their clothing, like on a chain. And then the third image has Johnny Rotten wearing a tie, a button down, and then a cloth black jacket with chains, sunglasses, and then black trousers. This was kind of a more refined version of what kind of punk rock fashion could look like, but it still definitely goes with the aesthetic, especially because it's Johnny Rotten. The next slide features Vivienne Westwood and 3 garments that were in the Met Gala costume collection. So as I was mentioning prior, she essentially kind of helped steer the punk rock movement into like a fashion movement as well because of her designs and her influence with that and working with the Sex Pistols. These 3 garments are from the 70s, and I feel best represent the punk movement and her style and her influence. So the first image includes a cotton button down that has different like spray painted words on it. There's different images, there's cloth with different words, and it looks very grunge-esque. It is, to me, just what screams punk. It's political, it's grungy, it's fashionable. Love it. The second one, and it's titled, Anarchy, Karl Marx. The second image is it was just titled Sweater on the Met website, but this is less like specifically punk, but it was very true to Vivienne Westwood in the 70s fashion. I feel like it could still apply because of its kind of more relaxed and more frayed look, and the colors are so 70s. And it's made out of wool, and it's from 1976 to 1980, around there. And then the last image is very Vivienne Westwood, very punk, and it's called Ensemble. The materials are cotton and metal, and it was made around 1976 to 1980. It's a black jacket with different straps on it, which is kind of an homage to when in the past she used to have a boutique that literally had like fetish gear. As she didn't start out as a fashion designer. She kind of started out, she was making clothes out of necessity. She was an artist, and then she just kind of ended up going there. But this last image is a great example of her work. And on to the next slide. The Ramones, another great punk rock band. First to the left, we see Joey Ramone wearing a black leather jacket and a Ramones t-shirt. You can see kind of how it's kind of cropped. This was a style that was very popular in the 70s with men's t-shirts, which is interesting because like when you think of crop tops now, it's very feminine. It's very like almost, it's just effeminate. But here they're kind of doing it in this kind of like grungy, like rocker way where it's like super tight. Then he's wearing relaxed jeans. The Ramones, their aesthetic was more like consistent. Like they all kind of are wearing, so you can see like in the second image and the third image as the whole band, they're wearing kind of the same thing, a black leather jacket, jeans, and then a tight t-shirt. So punk fashion could kind of go a lot of ways. It could be more simple like this, where you're just staying consistent with like the sunglasses and the leather jacket and maybe some chains here and there. Or you can go, the more like Vivienne Westwood Sid Vicious route, which is a little bit more intense. But these are also just very 70s-esque images, and they were just a huge punk rock group that was very influential on the culture. Next is The Clash, my personal favorite influence of the punk rock movement and the fashion. I just think that they're kind of like a happy medium of all of the different bands. Like you can see like in the second photo, they have similar to what Johnny Rotten was wearing in one of the first images, like the white button down that's kind of messy, and then the black tie, but then you can see how there's like blood paint like splattered on it, and there's still like words for that political aspect, but it just looks really cohesive and like aesthetically pleasing. And then in the right image, you can see this a lot in punk fashion where they're wearing like just a completely black mesh distressed top, very punk. And then you see he's wearing blue jeans with zippers and then a black belt. And then to the first image, it's just the whole group standing together. Most of them are wearing black leather jackets, but you see one of the members wearing like a bright red jacket, which works great with their branding. But yeah, no, The Clash had a great impact on the movement as well. Has some great aesthetics and fashion. I wanted to personally do a slide on 70s punk fashion, its influence on modern fashion and media. I've been seeing it so much like now, like in the past few months. It's everywhere. It's so prevalent. It's honestly what gave me the idea to do this subject for this project. So over to the left first, there's influencer Jake Weber. He's taken off here recently for the past few months, and he's known for his punk fashion. And he's obsessed with like Black Flag, The Clash, Sex Pistols, all of them. Has like a ton of tattoos. He has this like iconic chain necklace on that has the dice that he got from his favorite punk store in LA. In the first image, you can see him wearing a leather jacket, and then the right bottom image, he's wearing a black wife beater. You can see, like, on his YouTube and his Instagram and whatnot, he has a lot of different, like, punk outfits, but I feel like these kind of went with the aesthetic and the vibe that I was kind of going for the presentation. But yes, he's very obsessed with it, and he's very inspired by punk fashion. Over to the right is an anime that was actually released in 2006 called Nana. And it was created by pardon me, sorry. I need to see how to pronounce her name. Ai Yazawa. Yeah, Ai Yazawa. And she created the manga, and that eventually got turned into an anime, and she was very obsessed with Vivienne Westwood. She had the characters wearing it all throughout the anime and the manga. And her main character, Nana, is a part of a Japanese punk rock band called the Blackstones, and they're very inspired by punk fashion as well. But while it was released in 2006, it's actually had a resurgence. It's all over TikTok, Instagram, Pinterest. Everyone is obsessed with it because it kind of juxtaposes coquette and punk grunge fashion in a really nice way. Another character in the show that I don't have here is more kind of that coquette aesthetic that I'm referencing. But for the purpose of this being about punk, I just have the character Nana up in the left corner, who is inspired by that, and then her band. And you can see, like, in the bottom, one of the characters, his name is Shin, is sporting one of Vivienne Westwood's lighter necklaces. And then you can kind of see in the other image as well that they're wearing some of her stuff. But yeah, that it is very influenced by punk, and it's very influenced by Vivienne Westwood, and this is just an example of how much of an impact it's had on fashion. So thank you for listening to my presentation.